And we've kind of filled up in the front. I like that. That's an improvement. It'll look like somebody came to the conference. Hi there, my name is John Shavacco. I am a board member with NY-GEO. I also run a company, Aztec Geothermal, in upstate New York. And I just want to welcome everybody here. One of the first things to get out of the way is that we do have a Wi-Fi sponsor, and there's a network related to that. SRS helped us out with that, and so the network name, which I think is correct, anybody from SRS to look at that, that's the name of the network, and then there's the password. So I'm going to leave that up just for a bit, or take a picture of it, or whatever you want to do. Ask a friend that's more responsible than you, whatever it takes. And then I'm going to get going with other things. Okay, going once, going twice, gone. Ah, jeez. Is it that difficult? Come on. All right. It's going. You good? Again, ask a friend. So, again, I'm John Shavacco. I'm going to have Jens Panikow, our president, come up in just a bit. And then I'm going to have Zach Fink come up. We're going to have some gold sponsor remarks. And we've got Christine Hoffer, our executive director, is going to go through a couple of slides for you. And then we will go into our keynote, which is Doreen Harris from NYSERDA, which is lovely. So let me first talk to you a little bit about the program. I heard that we're looking for these. Do we have more? Yes? We do. Okay. So we worked with the driller and with Brock and Chelsea Yorty, and they did a terrific job putting this together. And inside of this is the program for the day, for both days, and then also descriptions of the sessions. We needed to do it like a week ago, so that means that your name is probably misspelled and other horrible things are not exactly correct. But they will be correct on anything that's on the web or anything that you see posted in the hallways. And then in the center spread, there are the exhibitors. Maybe I put that in there. I didn't put it in there just yet. The exhibitors' spaces and where they're located. The exhibitors, for those of you that don't know, are right here, and then also in that room over there, just on the other side of that wall. And then as you go down towards the North Side Ballroom, which actually isn't called the North Side Ballroom, it has other names. What are those names? Max. See, he told me to remind people about this, and then he's not even in the room. What's that? Greenpoint, Dumbo, Navy Pier. Anyway, it's over there. You'll find it. I want to thank our sponsors quickly, and then I'm going to bring Jens up. Our presenting sponsor is Con Edison, which is just unbelievably great. The utilities did not participate in this conference to any great extent until maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and now there's lots of folks. And when I do this, they're very shy. How many people work for a utility? See, that's a lot of hands. Yeah, see, they had the courage. Thank you, utilities. And thank you, Con Edison. Solid. Gold sponsors, we have NYSERDA and the Climate Control Group, sometimes known by most people by one of their companies called Climate Master. And we want to thank them for their support. The silver sponsor is ZBF Geothermal, so that's Zach's company. Bosch is coming in, which is great to see them participating more, so I'm glad to see them there. And then Ground Heat with Gino's group. So thanks so much for your sponsorship. We have a happy hour sponsor from Water Furnace, which has been, our solid supporter from the very beginning with NY-GEO, and we really appreciate their continued support. And we'll hear from them at dinner for the top job competition later on. Allied Geothermal is our dinner sponsor. We'll also hear from them at dinner, and so that'll be nice. Good to have them there. And we heard about the Wi-Fi sponsorship. I think my wife is calling me. I have to tell you, I got up this morning and I put my my wedding ring on my other hand when I forget something, and it's bugging me. I have no idea why I put it on my other hand. So I'm so if I'm a little off, that's why. Sorry. Lunch sponsor, we've got EJS, which is a distributor. Omega heat pumps is one of their products. For breakfast, we've got Enertech and Brightcore. Thanks so much. Coffee breaks, Versa Profiles, FW Web, and Endurant. And the media is the Driller. And the Driller has really been a terrific support. And so grab one of these, and it'll help you get through the show. Sponsor locations are in this program, and they're on this map over here. And again, we are, you can kind of see it. We are here in this room right now, and then that north side foyer, it's not even called the ballroom, with all those other names. So if you go to a room that has a name you're unfamiliar with, you're in the north side foyer, which is where our fourth track is today. All right, I am going to bring up Jens Panikow. I already have your slides loaded, I think. Yeah, you. Get up here. Jens Panikow, president of NY-GEO.
Well, thank you for all coming here. It's the first time we are in the New York City area. We wanted to make a statement since many of us are starting to put geothermal into New York City properties where it's not even 3-4 years ago where people said that's not possible. And we need to remember ourselves that it's possible. It's just, and now within a few years, it has become standard. So this is something we have to resemble on. And I like to share a couple slides. I used the same slides in Albany in the spring for you to maybe remind you what this technology can do. So here you see this is a simple picture coming out of a hotel room in Poughkeepsie, and it shows you, number one, a cooling tower emitting heat in the middle of April. So we are rejecting thermal energy into the atmosphere. We don't account for it. We're just trying to get rid of it. And 100 feet away, you see the second smokestack there, which is a hot water heater burning fossil fuels to create thermal energy. Not really create, but to make hot water. How silly is that? You're rejecting thermal energy into the atmosphere, and in the same moment, you're burning fossil fuels to make hot water. Why don't we go and have a technology which essentially just takes the thermal energy instead of rejecting it and puts it into the hot water? What could that be? All our systems are working in that way now, where we are not even bothered to reject this. It's important to understand that this is recapturing it and using it at the same time. And not even at the same time, we're using it 6 months later. The wake-up call was when everybody started to realize every building makes enough energy to heat itself in the wintertime. It just does so in the summer. And now we are using that energy from the summer. Instead of getting rid of it, we're storing it underground and we're recapturing it in the winter. That is what needs to click in us. And if we can do this, we solve the whole problem. So, as an example, we're going to talk a lot about Zero Place on this conference because it's kind of the model home for New York State. It's a typical mixed-use building in New Paltz, New York, very cold, very hot. And guess what? That building heats itself just from its own energy it makes. And that's the important thing. This is going to be the pathway forward. This is a pathway in the future. What I want to highlight here is that this building uses about 300 and 400 kilowatt hours per month of electricity. And the important part is that a typical New York State apartment uses about 600 kilowatt hours a month of electricity. That's the average. The important thing here is that the Zero Place is electrified 100%. And it uses less electricity than the typical New York State apartment does today. Does it click? Despite we're using fossil fuels, gas, for heating and cooling, which is the majority of the energy. In other words, we can do this path forward with using lesser electricity, not more. We can completely electrify the grid and using less on average than we needed so far. If we use the right technology and if we see geothermal as a storage technology. These are the results which are verified by NYSERDA, and also the peak. The summer peak of this building is half as much as the typical building is today. But you know what? It's still more than the heating peak, which is all going to scare us. So if we use this technology, we can store the summer heat in the ground and recapture it in the wintertime. And this is what this conference is all about. We can be part of the solution and not part of the problem of collapsing the grid. Welcome to NY-GEO 2024.
I still don't know why the ring is on this finger. So I'm going to bring Zach Fink up, and he's going to talk a little bit about. Zach had a lot to do with getting the program together, all the sessions that you're going to be at today, and then also is a big downstate guy and involved in a lot of the projects that were on the tours as well. So let's greet Zach Fink.
Hey everyone, so I'm Zach Fink, NY-GEO's vice president, one of the founding board members, and owner of ZBF Geothermal. So kind of as the downstate guy on the board, I was tired of going to Albany, no offense to all the Albany people. So one of my big goals was to get the conference downstate. And what we've seen down here is kind of an evolution of geothermal projects. It's gone from, oh, you want to do geothermal, and, kind of an idea tossed around in the boardroom and people going, why would we do that? To now being a lot of times the first option. We're actually seeing it become the cheapest option on projects, which is a really weird thing for people that have been in geothermal for a while, that we can now be the VE on projects instead of the most expensive technology. And then we're seeing utilities adopt it. And, we're seeing downstate pilots, we're seeing upstate pilots, we're seeing Massachusetts pilots, all over the country. And to me, it's kind of like geothermal has finally become mainstream. Now's the time. The IRA has helped accelerate it. So I'm really excited that, one of the goals was to attract developers and utilities and kind of the stakeholders that we typically couldn't get to these conferences. And we have everyone from investment capital here to venture capitalists to geothermal drilling startups to developers. And to me, that's kind of bringing the industry whole. There's about 550 people here today. We just overset the room, which is why it looks so empty. And we won't do tables in the back anymore to force everyone to come forward. But no, so I just want to thank everyone for, coming to Brooklyn and validating my great idea to have it down here. We'll talk about that at the next board meeting. No. And is there a slide? So, as John said, Waterfront has been one of our great sponsors, from the founding. And no offense to kind of the Climate Master guys here, but Climate Master was kind of the organization that you would go, how do we get in touch with someone there? And, a few years ago, the management team changed. And I have to say that they've been great and emerged and, really want to grow the industry. So I'm going to introduce Ian Goykacher, who's their vice president of sales, so to say a few words. Thanks.
Thank you, Zach. I'll keep this very brief. So like Zach said, I'm with the Climate Control Group. Climate Control Group is Climate Master along with other brands based in Oklahoma City. We've been involved in geothermal for many, many years. Oklahoma State University has been at the forefront of this industry as people have really been figuring out how to implement this technology. So the group I came over with came from the air source heat pump industry. We all worked in the VRF world. We really understood heat pumps, but we saw heat pumps as something that you put on the roof, you pull air, you pull energy from the ambient air, and it's a miracle. You can heat a building with, negative 20-degree air, right? So coming over here, I was much less familiar with ground source heat pumps, and I came to the first NY-GEO conference for myself about 3 years ago. And I was completely sold on the opportunity of this idea. The fact that almost half of all the solar energy goes into the earth, we can access that relatively easily if we drill down into the earth and circulate water or some sort of heat transfer medium, is kind of a miracle to me still. So I'm incredibly excited to see how this industry has grown. I mean, not only this conference, again, the first one I went to up in Albany, from where we were there to where we are here, not only because Zach was successful in getting one down in the city, which I'm very excited about, being based here as well, but also just seeing all the new faces, all the people who are here, and I think that's one of the most important things. This is an incredible opportunity to really decarbonize buildings while securing energy security, as well as just creating a system that has longevity that's significantly longer than any other heating or cooling technology that's out there for buildings. It's applicable to residential buildings, large-scale commercial buildings, as hopefully some of you guys saw with the job site tours yesterday, which thank you to everyone for setting those up. I think it's incredibly important to see the successes that people have had. And also, I have my whole sales team from across the country here, and one of the big things we talk about is, listen, if we can do it in New York City, if we can make it work here, we can probably make it work anywhere across the country here. So it's exciting to see, what's happened here with the great support of a lot of the different organizations and, people in government who have really helped make New York a leader in this. But it really is going to take all different people in all facets of this industry, designers, drillers, people on the equipment side, people on the development side, people on the finance side, to really make this a reality at the scale that I think we all think that it can be, and what will really make a difference for everybody's lives in a real concrete way. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, thank you to the organizers here, thank you to everyone who's really brought this industry to this point, and I think it's really exciting for where we can go from here. So thank you.
Thanks, Ian. And now I'm going to bring Christine Hoffer up. Christine's the executive director, has been for a couple of years now, something like that.
I still want to be new and not know what I'm talking
Yeah, she's newish, but it's been a great help at organizing this conference and also growing our membership, and has a good standing nationally, where we're trying to coordinate a lot of the different state organizations and a little bit internationally as well. So let's hear from Christine for a little bit, and then we'll bring up Doreen.
So I'll try and be real quick. The moral and what I'm going to try and instill in everybody in this room is that we all are our champions. And in order to be the champion of what we're doing, we all have to be a team. So I'm asking everybody to join Team GEO as we move forward here. So geothermal certification, our friends at ICHPA have been working very hard on a variety of different certifications, and we need people to be trained and certified in all the different areas of geothermal. So working with our friends at NYSERDA, who I do on a weekly basis, so thanks for that, we put together the ICHPA certified trained individuals in New York State. So the numbers that you see up here are what we currently have in New York State. So if you are in New York State and you have a certified geothermal designer, raise your hand, certification. That should be about 4. If you are a certified residential designer, raise your hand. That's the same 4 people plus 1. If you are a certified geothermal inspector, raise your hand. That is the same 5 people plus 4. There are 550 people registered for this conference. In order for us to achieve our climate goals and advance geothermal, we need people to be certified. I am not there yet, John. Let me do my talk. So then the accredited installer, these are our guys, our boots on the grounds, the men and women that are taking care of the heat pumps on a regular basis. We have about 114 accredited installers in New York State. In the Clean Heat program, there are many, many contractors. Many of them are not accredited installers. In order to get the incentives, you have to be an accredited installer. So our job as we leave here is that we need to work with ICSPA and we need to figure out how we can get more people trained in the geothermal industry. So, where's Scott and Andrew and Donovan? I see Donovan. Where's Scott and Andrew? So we meet weekly, they're back there. We meet weekly to talk about this. So we put some pretty aggressive goals together here, but we need you to help us get to these goals so that we make sure that when we're putting in these geothermal systems, that they're good systems, that the right players, the right actors that are putting in these systems are putting in the best possible systems that we have so that our industry stays solid and progressive and moves forward. So I'm asking you all to be a part of that. And we're going to help with that. So I'm still working with ICSPA and NYSERDA to submit PON 3981 where we can help offset some of the costs for training and get more people trained in all aspects of geothermal certification. So we need your support to do that. So I'm asking you to do that not only for New York. We have probably 20 states and at least 5 countries that are in the room with us today. So across the board, that International Ground Source Heat Pump Association training, we need to do that. We have Andrea here from the Ground Source Heat Pump Association from the UK. We all need to work together to advance geothermal, not only in New York State, but in our world. So some of the things that we've been doing, we obviously put on this conference. This conference is not a cheap endeavor, so we cannot do that without all of you here in the room and without all of the sponsors that have generously donated to help support not only NY-GEO, but the industry in New York State and our exhibitors. So please take the time to say hello to them, meet some new faces, challenge everybody to meet 5 new people that they don't know in the industry to help us move forward and advance. We've been doing some workforce development. This last week, I was able to work with our friends at Aztec and Local 7 to do some workforce, like just talk about geothermal to kids. So we did it with Career Jam. It was terrific. So this is something that we're getting more into. We have another one on November 17th that we're doing with Sustainable Westchester, which is adult workforce development. And again, we're talking about these various programs and how we can get people trained at a minimum at AI and then on from there. Some of the things we do, Bill Nowak will talk later about this tonight, about the things that we're doing, but one of the things that we've done recently is pass the 500-foot rule. We're still working on some of the regulations, and we have a great relationship with the DEC, and thanks to our board for bringing that together and having the conversation about the importance of being able to go deeper than 500 feet, but more importantly, how to make it safe and successful for both the environment and the building owner. So basically, we're stronger together. That's my message. If you listen to the town hall that we did recently with ICSPA, with the state associations and province associations across the country, we talked about stronger together. Again, through ICSPA, we're part of ACT, which is the Advocacy Communication Task Force, and our goal is to kind of create the vernacular for GEO across our planet. I use the Pepsi analogy. If you get a Pepsi in Wisconsin and you get a Pepsi in New York, it tastes the same, it looks the same. We need to do that. We need to be talking about and speaking about geothermal, ground source heat pumps the same way, in a way that I can understand it, because when you get into what Jens is doing, which I'm learning more and more, Jens, so I appreciate that, but I still don't know what a kilowatt hour is. So we need to talk to the person that is buying our product that doesn't necessarily know what we're talking about. And then working together to do that and supporting an organization like NY-GEO or your state association and ICSPA is really, really important. So, I'm a lacrosse mom. My husband told me not to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So, membership, super important. Your membership gets us our daily revenues that we need to run our organization. And it's not just my job, but it's all the things that we do when we pay money for to advance geothermal. So in this room, raise your hand if you are a NY-GEO member. Look to your left and look to your right, and if there's somebody that doesn't have their hand raised, your job is to get them to become a NY-GEO member. It's very easy, it's right online. If you have any questions, come and see me, because it's very important. When we ask for money or we ask for support to our legislators, we want to say, we have 1,000 members. That 1,000 members is this many more because each company has that many employees. So we need the help to do that. Okay, so last year I said we're going to say 2 words always. We're going to say ground source heat pump, not heat pump, ground source heat pump, and we're going to say geothermal. So in lacrosse, the coach will bring the team together at the beginning of the game, and we're going to raise our sticks, and we're going to say something. So on the count of 3, we're going to say, let's go Geo. Everybody with me on that? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's go Geo. All right, so appreciate that. So now I get to read from this paper and introduce a really fantastic human being that is doing a really, really amazing things in New York State. And I'm honored to have this privilege to introduce her. So I apologize now, Doreen. So Doreen Harris was appointed President and CEO of the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, on April 7th, 2021, after serving as acting President and CEO since June of 2020. President Harris is leading NYSERDA's role to advance the policy frameworks, clean energy technologies, and solutions that help New York advance toward the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by no less than 85% by 2050, while creating hundreds of thousands of good-paying clean energy jobs, building an equitable economy. Under President Harris's directions, NYSERDA is supporting New York's nation-leading clean energy initiatives through advancing infrastructure and innovation, large-scale and distributed renewables, building decarbonization, energy storage, transportation electrification, clean fuels, transmission, and resiliency. She's very busy and she's very good at her job. So it's my pleasure to introduce Doreen Harris, President and CEO of NYSERDA.
Awesome, awesome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Christine, for that kind introduction. It was supposed to be 3 times that length. I said, please, please, save me, save me. So, of course, you all know NYSERDA. I don't really think I need to describe what we do in any more detail, but suffice it to say, it has been an extraordinary number of years since our climate law was passed, but specifically with respect to the impact that we have had as a state and certainly as a region and further as a nation in really leading many, many aspects of the transition to a clean energy economy. And so I first want to thank NY-GEO and its members for their continued advocacy in promoting the use of ground source heat pumps. I said the right thing. And congratulate you on, I'd say, a decade of doing so. Did you know that? That's an extraordinary milestone and one that I've really seen this organization grow over those years in ways that are just extraordinarily impressive. I also have to acknowledge the equally amazing NYSERDA team. Team NYSERDA, thank you for being here. Donovan and team, awesome job. I certainly want to reflect on, I'd say, what is truly the challenge and opportunity associated with the very real issue of building decarbonization across our state. So I co-chaired New York's Climate Action Council, and one of the major findings of our work was that the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in our state is not transportation, it is buildings. And really, when you think about the 6 million buildings across our state, I have to tell you that this is one of our greatest challenges, but also one of our greatest opportunities to advance technologies and solutions to really get at that very big challenge of our state. And so I come here before you, I am sorry, but I am a chemical engineer. And I have to tell you that in my house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics. So when I think about I'm someone who spent many, many years working on the topic of heat transfer, certainly in college and thereafter. And when I think about the opportunity before us, we have an extraordinary array of technology solutions that can really get at that need, which is fundamentally the most efficient ways to transfer heat, to utilize energy, and ultimately to challenge ourselves to say that indeed our state, as diverse as it is, has an extraordinary number of resources that can be brought to bear to get at our building decarbonization. And it is true, all the way from an air source heat pump to a thermal network, which is really getting at the broader scale needed to get block by block and community by community decarbonization. All of them are necessary. And so when I think about the ways in which the state is getting after these issues, you know, the headline is that we're investing along with the utilities. I'm equally glad to see our utilities here today. We're investing upwards of $7 billion on this transition. But in reality, $7 billion is not going to get us to those 6 million buildings by a long shot. And that is where the work that we do is really intended to get at the scale necessary to create market transformations like those represented by NY-GEO today, necessary to scale up commensurate with the challenge that we face. And so when I think about the ways in which we use that $6.8 billion, it's really about moving markets. And I want to give you a couple of examples. I might have gotten scooped on one of my examples already, so I'll try to avoid that one. But for example, obviously there's a reason we're here in New York City. It is indeed one of the biggest challenges that we have as a state. The Empire Building Challenge is a great example of the ways in which we are demonstrating technologies in these existing tall buildings that can be used really to decarbonize their operations, specifically with new concepts and technologies and approaches. So right now, we have 27 Empire Building Challenge partners controlling over 400 million square feet of real estate and 200,000 housing units in New York. And fundamentally, of those 400 million square feet, they've committed to decarbonizing 128 million of that area. And fundamentally, when we think about Empire Building Challenge, it's not just about the solutions. I'll talk about a few of them, but it's about the ways in which this program can be used to not only inform others, but to scale up these technologies in other buildings that may not even be part of Empire Building Challenge. So we have a number of different plans that are underway, and I want to highlight just a couple. First, heating the lobby of the Empire State Building with waterside heat recovery, installing air source heat pumps to phase out the use of steam heat. This is an iconic building that they're moving toward net zero as we speak. But also, when we look at pioneering plans to pilot wastewater heat recovery and geothermal systems at the Towers, which is the oldest U.S. multifamily co-op located in the Bronx. So Empire Building Challenge is all about these existing buildings. But when we think about new construction, I have to speak to our Buildings of Excellence competition, which has been in place for many years, but is really going after that new construction market and increasingly the design of the buildings in the first instance, really the best place to address these challenges. And fundamentally demonstrating that these transitions can be cost competitive, another critical part of scaling up these technologies. So, as you heard from Jens, the Zero Place is a very great example of a Building of Excellence Round 1 awardee. This is a 4-story, 46-unit, mixed-use, multifamily new construction project in New Paltz, as you saw, and ultimately demonstrating that ground source heat pumps can be used for both space conditioning and domestic hot water with solar on site to achieve net zero energy performance. And so we definitely see opportunities to demonstrate both within existing and new construction how this is possible. But now let's scale it up even more, and let's talk about community thermal networks. This is the block-by-block solution that I think will be critical to achieving scale, the scale very much necessary here in New York and beyond. So we have supported the Community Heat Pump Systems pilot program since early 2021. And ultimately, through 10 rounds of funding, we have supported more than 50 feasibility studies, all the way through those studies to design and construction. In fact, as we speak, we have 21 projects in the New York City area, including 5 right here in Brooklyn, that are designed to demonstrate the various stages of feasibility, study, design, and construction, and ultimately to accelerate the adoption of these networks in New York City and New York by demonstrating that it is indeed possible. And so why do we do pilot programs? We do pilot programs so we can learn, and then ultimately we can deploy at even a greater scale, and that is just what we did. Our large-scale thermal program launched in June with an expanded focus that supports the design of large-scale thermal systems. And I'm happy to share we received an incredible amount of first-round proposals that are being evaluated, and now the next round is open for submission. So, of course, this is a necessary part of building this market as you see here in this room today. And I want to speak about the ways in which the utilities of New York are working together with us. And certainly, Governor Hochul signed into law the Utility Thermal Energy Network and Jobs Act in 2022. And now we see 11 pilot projects in active development across our state, fundamentally doing and learning at the same time, because we are uncovering the ways in which our systems and processes need to change and evolve to support these projects and beyond. And so, as more projects move forward, I think what Christine was saying is one of the fundamental, I'd say, benefits of these technologies, but also one of the fundamental challenges, which is we need the people, right, to build these systems in an efficient, effective, and timely manner. And so jobs and career opportunities are a huge opportunity that I want each of you to be thinking about here today. One of the best things about ground source heat pumps, other than heat transfer, which is one of the coolest things about a ground source heat pump, is the jobs that come with it. It's got a huge jobs play, and it is one that is very beneficial when we are looking to imbue benefits in our state beyond the carbon and climate benefits that we know these technologies can provide. So we as a state are investing more than $180 million in various programs, including the PON you just heard Christine reference, really designed to bring that workforce forward of the future. And I was thrilled actually to see the trades in the room today, because this is tricky work, it is hard work, and it is work that requires the expertise of labor unions to work in this ecosystem as well. So it's a huge opportunity from a jobs perspective, and one that I don't want to lose sight of, because it is a central aspect of how we get from here to there. So I think this industry is reflective of the growth of our state. The growth certainly since the passage of our climate law, but also the growth as we have begun to expand the deployment of these technologies and to benefit from them. So to see a room of 500 people here is an extraordinary testament to the ways in which this industry is responding, I'd say, to the opportunity and the challenge of our state and certainly of our country. NYSERDA is here as your partner. You're going to see us ever more so working in this space to facilitate the transition, the market development, and ultimately the scale necessary to get from here to there. So, Team NYSERDA is someone you're going to be hearing from a lot over the next couple of days. We were central to the development of this conference, and I'm encouraged to see so many people here today to move this industry forward together. So make the most of these 2 days. I'm thrilled to kick us off, and I wish you a successful conference. Thank you.
Thanks, Doreen. That was terrific. And NYSERDA has been a solid supporter. I was talking with, I forget who it was, but you'll know when I say this, that the real difference in New York State for us, and the fact that I was in Sweden recently, and they have about the same size ground source heat pump industry as the United States in total, just Sweden. But their ground source heat pump conference gets about, I don't know, maybe 100 people, probably a little bit less than that, and also in England, which also has lots of folks, bigger than New York in some ways. Also manages about 100, 120 kind of things, but excuse me. But the support that we've gotten from NYSERDA right from the beginning really is a fundamental difference. I do think NY-GEO has played a good role in that, but just to have, it's a state organization really like none other. And Donovan Gordon, who we'll hear from at dinner, has been fundamental to that for our industry. So we'll hear from him at dinner. I do want to talk a little bit about the program and a little bit about logistics. So we've got, let me get the program up, and then I'm just going to swim through a little of it. Hold that. Lovely. I love it. I don't know if who is at a NY-GEO conference for the first time? First time. Yeah, usual. Thanks for coming. Woohoo! We do get about 40% or so of new folks, so there's definitely a good, and I would say well more than 50% of the folks that were in Albany in April were like, tall buildings, scary, they didn't come. I want to show you some things about the program. So over here is a room called ABCD. ABC? Let me see. It's ABC. And so that is the design track. So over here we've got the design track. It's this blue, little light blue guy in the middle. And all of the ones in that room over the next 2 days are for PDH credits. So that if you attend one of those and you're an engineer and you need those credits, professional development hours, that's where you get them. And then there's on day 2 in that room as well. So there's 9 credits available for folks that are interested in that. That doesn't mean that you need to be an engineer that needs credits to go to that. If it's a topic that's of interest to any of you, it's fine to attend, and we encourage that. And so we've got a good lineup over there in Salon D, which is where I am right now. And that's going to be here when the air wall is shut in just a bit. That's policy and programs, and so we're going to go through topics related to that. We've got a number of panels coming up today. Over here is building electrification, and so there again we've got some solo speakers. We've got Amanda Schneck, who's one of the committee members to get this conference going. She's going to give a talk on the fundamentals of what geothermal is. So if you're new to this, some of you that maybe raised your hand, you might want to check out her session. Top Job, we actually have winners in Top Job this year, where it's usually still a competition at this stage. We have 3 categories, and you'll hear from those winners in that, and then we'll present those awards at the dinner this evening. Alexis McKittrick is back. So she did the lunch talk for us in Albany, and she's going to give a full hour of the activities for the DOE. So that's terrific. I think I saw her. In the other room that has many names, and none of them are called Northside Ballroom, but that's what we have on the schedule, just to confuse you. And so that is basically, you sort of jog back there, and that's going to be a thermal energy network track today and a geothermal drilling track tomorrow. So those track names are going to change. And but basically, there's going to be 4 sessions going on at one time. We've got design track over here, policy and programs here, building electrification over here, and then thermal energy networks. Follow the signs, get yourself over there. We have happy hour, and then we have a dinner, which will just be a hoot, and you'll love it. So what's going to happen next is that the air walls are going to close. Yep, some of you that have been to the conference know how dangerous that can be, because these things, they're not made of air, they're made of metal mostly, and they will hurt you. So what you want to do is you want to leave this room and go and mingle with the exhibitors, hang out a little bit, and then find your way to whichever session you'd like. When you look at the schedule, who here feels conflicted as to which room to go to? And you blame me. I know you blame me. And I'm good with that. I think that's a sign of a good program. If you feel conflicted, that means we have a lot of good topics going on. So you're part of a really great program. Think about it that way. All right. So I'm going to release everybody to visit with vendors and things, grab some coffee, and then we will see you back at 10 o'clock sharp in the room of your choosing. All the sessions will be recorded, and all the presentations will be available for download. Don't panic. Just go to the session you want to go to. Watch the other one later. Thank you.